All right. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It is June 2nd, the day that we're doing this coffee talk. And yeah, got some cool stuff I want to share with you guys here today. We are going to be talking about, I'll give you exactly what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to look at my notes here. 3 ways to validate your niche site growth potential and revenue streams. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. I'm going to break it down 3 different ways. I'm going to elaborate on a few of these. And the reason why I'm actually sharing these with you is because I'm currently going through this. And no matter what stage of building your brand and your niche site, you're going to be looking at expanding, growing. What is the potential? Have I reached that potential yet? Should I move on? Should I start thinking outside the box? So what I like to do is look at the potential in the very beginning before I ever post anything on the website. And then once you get to a certain level, then you want to start looking at other opportunities, whether that's content creation, whether that's products, whether that's affiliate offers, any of that stuff. So that's what we want to do. And I'm going to walk you through what I usually look at. And actually, I'm going through this process once again. I literally almost bought a website, and I did a whole coffee talk on that. I posted it on the podcast as well. I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to buy that, by the way. And there's a good reason why, but I'm actually going to be building out, because I was inspired by that website. I'm not going to copy that website, but I'm going to definitely probably go into that space. Just because I have an interest in it, but also I think there's a lot of potential there. So I'll be probably giving you guys a little bit of the play-by-play on that inside of Brand Creators Academy. As always, we're giving you guys the behind-the-scenes look. So I'll talk about that here probably in the next, 4 weeks, because we're just getting ready to get that thing started. But we're always looking at, how do we validate that this is even worth putting our time, our energy, and our money into building this thing? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So before we get rocking and rolling, let's see who we got here today. And I do have a question for you guys. Are you right now currently actively posting on a website content? And I'm just curious. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Because I always like to know who is actually actively posting. There's a lot of benefits to posting content. There's a lot of things you get to do with it. And I just sent out an email this morning. We did a brand new YouTube video showing exactly the 3 different types of content that we've been using, and it works really well. But you do need to validate it. And that's a little bit about what today is about. So let me know in the comments. Looks like Karen's here with us. What's up, Karen? Good morning, Scott and crew. Sunny and warm. That's good. Glad it's sunny and warm there. What's up, Alejandro? What's up? Salama, happy Wednesday to you as well. Juan, hi, Scott. Good morning. Drink your coffee. Hopefully it's Colombian. I just finished up my coffee, so I'm doing a coffee talk today without a coffee. Yeah, that's right. I just actually finished my my other cup. Didn't have time to brew another one, and actually drinking a little electrolytes right here in my Yankee mug, by the way, or my glass. It's pretty good. All right, so we're going to kick it off. If you guys have any questions on this, please drop them in the comments. It looks like Alejandro says posting. That's good. I'm glad that you are. So definitely make sure that you guys do that in the comments. If you have any questions about what I'm going to be sharing with you, let me know. But I am going to do this the way that I normally do it, where I'm going to most likely turn this into a podcast. So I will be kicking this thing off with a little bit of an intro here. All right. So here we go. All right, guys, in this episode, in this session, depending if you're watching this or listening to this on the podcast, I am going to be sharing with you 3 ways to validate niche site growth potential and revenue streams. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because this is something that you need to do in the very beginning, and also as you start to grow, as you start to scale. There's 2 different websites that we started building just over, I think, about 19 months ago now. It's not yet 2 years, almost 2 years. I think in July of this year, it'll be 2 years. And we've been doing these as public case studies inside, I say public-private case studies inside of Brand Creators Academy. And between the two sites right now, well over 100,000 page views, over, gosh, what is it now? Probably like 70, 80,000 unique visitors. One site were just about 70,000 page views. The other one were right around 40, 40-ish, 38, 40-ish, which is great. We're really, really excited about that. And what I want to do, though, is I want to share with you some of the thought process that goes into, okay, now what, right? So in the very beginning, I ran through the same 3 ways to validate the niche site to make sure it was even worth spending time here. And I'll give you guys those right now inside of this episode. So this way here, you can kind of come along with me as I go through this. Okay, so this way here, you know what to look for. Now, there are some numbers I'll throw out there. You know, these aren't really concrete numbers. Some of it's kind of a gut feel, but you do want to know that there's potential there. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people making is they just assume that there's traffic out there. And there's 2 things that we're always looking at here. 2 things, okay? Traffic and revenue, okay? Traffic and revenue. Doesn't really matter how you get the traffic, as long as it's targeted traffic and they're searching for what you're publishing, because the content is the vehicle that allows us to get that traffic, by the way, okay? And when you put out this content, you start to get some traffic. Now we have to say, okay, is there money on the other side of that? Is there opportunities to produce revenue? That's what we want to do here at the end of the day, right? But without the traffic, we can't really get to that place. So we always have to validate that first. And again, I'll walk you through that. Now, we go through this extensively inside of our content creation challenge that we did, which for you, if you want to go through that, you can go through that now. If you go to launchyourcontent.com, again, that's launchyourcontent.com, you can go through that workshop, which was basically us taking you through the exact process day by day. And it was over a 7-day period. You get to see us how we are finding content, how we are creating the content, how we're publishing the content. We actually show a real live example. And then from there, how to do it yourself, how to amplify the content, all done inside of this workshop, which you can access. Now, if you're part of Brand Creators Academy, you're already getting access to this. This is inside of the members portal. So if you are a part of BCA, you can find it in the portal. If you're not, well, you can head on over to launchyourcontent.com and you should be able to access that workshop right there. Okay. Or that we call that our 7-day content creation challenge. All right. So it's all laid out for you. All right. So with that all being said, let's kind of dig in here. The very first thing I want to say is we need proof. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is they don't get proof, right? They don't get proof. I do not want to guess at this point. Okay. If I'm guessing, then I'm risking a lot more because I don't know if there's really anybody searching for this stuff or if anyone is even interested in this stuff. And that's risky. Okay. Your time is worth something. Your money is worth something. We don't want to waste that. So we want proof. Okay. We want proof. Now recently, and I believe I published this on the podcast. I know I did it on a coffee talk where I shared a site that I was thinking about buying for just about $40,000. And it was generating around $1,200, $1,300 per month. But I did not like the site, not the structure. I mean, the structure was part of it, but it was more or less, it had backlinks that were manufactured backlinks in a sense, which is not good with Google, and it could be penalized and then you lose your traffic. I didn't like any of that stuff, but I did like the model. I did love the niche. So I potentially am going to create something along those lines, not exactly like that. I'm actually going to expand that out into a couple of other sub niches. But I looked at that, looking at the model of proof, right? Like I'm looking at, like, does it have enough traffic potential to make money in ads? Does it have enough traffic to generate it for a digital product? Does it have enough traffic to offer affiliate products? Like all of these things, which I'll go through them here in a second. But I run through this stuff to get proof to see if I'm going to buy a website, I'm running through this proof, right? I'm running through this validation process. If I'm going to build a site to get to a certain place, I'm running it through this validation process. All right. So the very first thing we need to understand, like I said, is we need to look at the traffic and the revenue streams. So the very first thing, this is step number one, is I want to find 2 to 3 websites, okay, that are already established, that are already generating traffic. Okay. I want them to prove to me that the market has said yes. Okay. And some people will say, well, Scott, what's the numbers? What is the potential that you're looking for? Generally, I want to find websites that are getting between 75,000 visitors per month up to, 1 million, right? I would love 1 million. But if it only gets 75,000 per month, but there's some other ones that are getting 100,000, 250,000 collectively, that would be enough for me. Okay. And I'll explain why when we get into the revenue streams. Okay. But I'm looking at that. Okay. Now you may be able to, take a niche that you might only find a couple of websites that get 30, 40,000, but that's just one sub niche, right? So if you were doing a website on fishing and you had bass fishing, and then you had deep sea fishing, and then you had, fly fishing, and you took all of those and added them up to what could potentially be 100,000, 150,000, then maybe we're willing to do that, right? Because now we've kind of went into different verticals, but it's still, the umbrella is still the same. Okay. Now we have a niche site, actually 2 of them that we created inside of Brand Creators Academy as case studies. One of the websites right now, they're both doing very well, but the one website is starting to take off. And I say take off, it's getting about 70,000 visitors per month. Okay. Which is great. But here's what I looked at just recently, because now we're at another phase in this process. It's been just under 2 years. And now we're like, okay, what is the potential now? Because it's getting 70,000, but there's other sites that I found that are getting 500,000, that are getting 1 million visitors. So my potential is still a lot bigger, right? I didn't tap out. I didn't I'm not the number one in that niche, which is great because that shows that I have more room. The other thing that's really cool about this is after you've been building something for a year or a year and a half, you start to get what they call site authority. Okay, or domain authority. And that's another metric that we can look at in tools that will give us a domain authority. When you're first starting, it's 0. Okay, unless you buy a site that's already kind of existing. Okay, and when that site gets more authority, then it will be easier to rank for more content, or you can go after more competitive type content. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Okay, so we started kind of with the low-hanging fruit content, and we talk all about that inside of the content creation workshop. And we also go through that inside of Brand Creators Academy in our 30-day roadmap. But in the very beginning, we're not being picky about the content as much as traffic numbers go. Like we'll produce a piece of content that might only get 100 visitors per month. That's okay, because we just want to start establishing traffic, and we want to start establishing a relationship with Google that we're producing good content. Okay, but right now we're at the stage where we're like, okay, we're going to level this up a little bit, and we're going to start going after a little bit more competitive stuff, because we're at 70,000. We could get to 500,000. Maybe that's the next milestone. Might be we want to get to 200,000 page views. And when you get to 200,000 page views, everything increases, everything. And I'll get into that when we get into the validation piece of the revenue streams. Okay. The very first thing that I want to do is I want to look at 2 to 3 websites getting traffic. And I like to see 75,000 at a minimum, at least if I'm looking at like only 2 or 3 sites. If I'm looking at something that gets 50,000, then there's another site that gets 60,000, another site that gets 54,000, and I'm looking at all these sites, it still might be enough, but it doesn't give me a lot of growth. So that there, I might need to find other verticals, okay? But for the most part, I want to find some sites that are getting 75,000, okay, visitors. And I'm going to share with you how I find that. So, or how you find sites in general. So what I'm going to do is I'm always going to go in and just type in the main keyword. So if it's bass fishing, I'm going to type in bass fishing inside of Uber Suggest. Now, Uber Suggest, at this time that I'm recording this, they do have a free version of it, but I think it only gives you a certain amount of searches or maybe a certain amount of data. I don't know. It's pretty inexpensive. It's not that expensive for the tool, but you can use the free version of it, and it'll give you what you need to know. Okay. So when you do that, it will give you the traffic for that keyword, but I'm not looking at that. I'm not necessarily looking at the traffic for the keyword. What I'm trying to find is the content that is being published by other websites. So if I put in bass fishing or how to catch more bass, I'll click on that keyword inside of Uber Suggest, and then that will allow me to see other websites that are creating content in this niche. Now I take that website and then I plug it into Uber Suggest. Now I get the traffic. I can see their traffic numbers. Okay. And these are estimates, by the way. When you're looking at Uber Suggest, usually, not always, usually they're low. And I know this because we have sites, right? We have 2 sites right now actively that we're creating content on. And it says that we get 40,000. I know in analytics, Google Analytics, we're getting 70,000. So it's off by 30,000. And that's just because we have Pinterest traffic coming in, we have email traffic coming in, and we have other, other forms of traffic coming in that aren't just Google searches or organic searches. Okay. Organic meaning just searches that are coming from a search engine. Okay. So that's good, right? Most of the time it's low, and that's good because that means that's probably higher. All right. So what we're really doing with Uber Suggest is we're not necessarily looking at the keyword level. We're not saying like bass fishing or knitting, or that will lead us to sites that are publishing in that niche. Then we want to take the website, plug it in, see the traffic numbers, and go, okay, this makes sense. Now, I'm going to share with you at the end of this one little thing that you can also do that will give you some numbers and some revenue numbers that we can also get some intel. And I'll share that with you here soon. Okay. So stick with me. All right. So that's number one. Find 2 to 3 websites getting traffic already and start to use them as the roadmap, if you will, or at least the potential of what you could be creating content on, but also what are the potential numbers of traffic that you could be getting. Okay. So that's number one. Number 2, let's move on to number 2, is we want to look at the content potential. What type of content, now that we found 2 to 3 websites that we're going to look at and look at their numbers, but then also look at the traffic that they're getting from content, what type of content are they creating? Now, I like it if you can find some sites that are publishing question type posts, because question-based posts to me are the easiest. Now, if they're not, that is opportunity for you as well. But if you look for a site, you will most likely find that they're publishing question-based posts. And these questions could be, can you catch bass in a pond? Can you catch bass with worms? Basic posts. I recently did a YouTube video on this, walking through these 3 different ways, and you might want to go to Brand Creator's YouTube channel and you can check that out. It's totally free over there on the YouTube channel. I'll actually, you know what? I probably should embed that video on this post. Maybe I'll do that. So when you are listening to this, if you go to the show notes of this episode number, you will find that YouTube video. All right. So the second thing I'm looking at is the content potential. I'm looking at question-based posts, how-to posts, and product reviews. Those are the 3 buckets that I want to see content being created. Now, if it's not being created, it does not mean that you can't create it. So this is where opportunity comes in for growth, right? If other sites aren't focusing on question-based posts, then you should probably do a nice little, batch of content around questions, because to me, it is one of the easiest ways to get traffic. Okay. Answering specific questions. Now you might say, well, Scott, why would you do that if you want to sell people things, right? Like in the niche. Well, if someone comes over for, can you catch bass with worms, and you sell lures, or you have, other posts that are best, bait to use to catch bass, and it happens to be lures that you sell or that you're an affiliate for or you promote, they're going to buy it, right? Or there's a potential they could buy it. Okay. So we always want to lead them in. The other thing is once we get into, and I'll show you here in a second here, or I'll explain what we can do with those traffic numbers, that you can create passive income. And this is the most passive income that I've ever found when it comes to building a website. Okay. And I'll share that with you here in a second. But the second thing, again, I'm going to repeat this. Look at the content potential. Okay. Questions, how to, and product reviews. And you do want to have a mix of those three. Okay. If you're just starting, I would backfill this site with a lot of questions. I would start there because it's going to be the easiest to create. It's going to be the fastest to rank for, because a lot of times it's long tail. Can you catch bass in a pond? Can you catch bass in the winter? Can you catch bass? You get the idea. Okay. How to, a little bit harder sometimes because you got to do demonstration or you have to do more screenshots, depending. But it could take you a little bit more time. Product reviews, I would mix those in there, because then if someone's searching for best fishing lures to catch bass 2021 or whatever the year is, and they land on your post, there's a good chance that they're ready to buy one, right? So that's another thing that we look at. So we look at those pieces of content. Are they being published? If they are, do we see opportunity that we could publish? Okay. And so that's what we're looking for. So right now, we're starting a new site in a fairly new niche for us. There's a whole story behind that. I actually have a domain that I've had for a while that I'm now going to use, which I'll probably talk about that on another episode inside of BCA. I'm going to share all the behind the scenes stuff on that, but I'm going to be basically starting from scratch in a sense of content that I'm going to be creating. And it's going to be a mix of this: questions, how to, and product reviews, following the same formula. Now, a site that's already seasoned and it's already been out there, we've already published 200 articles on this site. What am I going to do? Do more of the questions, more of the how to, but really I'm going to start focusing more on the product review. Okay. Because now I can start to rank for those a lot easier. So that's number 2. Okay. Number 3 is we want to look at these websites that we found, and we want to look for clues. How are they monetizing? Are they using ads? Are they using Mediavine? Are they using Ezoic? And one little ninja tip here: if you're on one of these sites, it says Mediavine right under the ads, so you'll know if they're being monetized through Mediavine. If they're using Mediavine, it's a pretty good chance they're doing okay as far as what we call the RPM, the per thousand, meaning how many thousand visitors you get is what you get paid for. Currently, right now, we just got one of our sites approved for Mediavine, the one that's getting 70,000 page views. And right now we're off to the races. We had a day, we were getting paid, what was it, last week? We're averaging about $19 for the RPM. And I think we had one day last week, it was $21 or $22 per thousand, meaning if someone visits your site, 1,000 people visit the site, they'll pay you $21. It's basically what it looks like. If you get 2,000 visitors per, or page views, you're going to make double that. It'd be $42, right? And so on. So that's why we want to see the potential, because if we keep increasing our traffic, that's going to be the most passive revenue stream that you'll have. If we keep that right now, that one site will make between $1,000 and $1,200 just on ads, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you are able to increase the traffic, looking at the potential in the future, that could be a revenue stream all on its own. Okay. All by itself. Now that will fluctuate. There are seasonality to it. There's, different times of the year. Advertisers don't want to spend as much. So there is some of that. It's not always going to stay consistent like that. But if you can average it out, like a good rule of thumb is making $15 per thousand is pretty good. We've had a site in the past that we recently sold. That was doing about $25 to $30. There's actually someone inside of Brand Creators Academy who bought a website that was on Mediavine that was getting almost, I think, $30 per thousand, which is absolutely crazy, but it's great. Okay. It's really, really good. That site's making like $1,400 on just ads. So it's pretty awesome. So we're looking for clues. So ads is a big thing for us because we do want to be able to turn those on when the time is right, so we can start to monetize the traffic that we've been generating, right? And we're going to continue to. The second thing is affiliate products. Again, another easy way that you don't need the products. All you need to do is write posts that talk about products. Now, one thing that in the very beginning, I wouldn't be picky, right? I'd be like, okay, if these products make sense, I'm going to do 5 best bass fishing lures to catch more bass, like whatever, right? I'm going to do that. But then I'm going to probably want to go into kayak bass or kayaks for bass fishing. 5 best kayaks for bass fishing. They might be between $300 and $1,000. Why would I want to then focus my energy there? More commission. Okay. So even if you're just on Amazon, you're going to make between 3 and 5%. They actually cut their affiliate. Or you can find an independent, maybe Dick's Sporting Goods has an affiliate program and they pay 6%, right? And you're going to do it on, maybe kayak bass fishing boats, or you're going to do it on maybe little John boats. John boats, oh gosh, I was pricing them. They're anywhere from $700 to about $3,000. So again, maybe you do reviews on those and you find an affiliate program. And for every boat that someone buys through your website, you can earn, maybe it's $50, maybe it's $100, and you sell 5 or 10 of those, adds up. Okay. So we want to look at that stuff. And that's what we're doing when we're finding other websites. We're like, what kind of posts are they creating? What kind of products are they promoting? And that's a good sign for us for future growth. Okay. So we're looking at that. And those are really things that we don't have to do a lot. If someone buys a product through one of those affiliate links, all that we're going to do is get a paycheck. We're not even going to deal with customer support. We're not going to deal with questions, any of that stuff, because we're directing them to the website that sells that stuff, or Amazon in that case. Now, let's talk about our own products. Now, there's potential that we could start an Etsy store, which we've done on one of our niche sites. We're about to do it on the second. And that one, the one that we started on, is generating, I think, around $1,400 a month, give or take. I think the winter just before Christmas did almost $2,200. That's revenue, generating about 30 to 40% is the margin on that. So on average, let's just call it $500-$600 extra a month on merch that we're not even having to produce, because when you have an Etsy store, you can connect it to any one of these print on demand pretty much, and then they'll handle it for you. Again, I'm not going to get into all that, but let's look at these sites and go, okay, is anyone offering merch, right? If they are, great. If not, go to Etsy and see if anybody's creating merch for your niche, and then you can bolt that right on. So that's what we're looking at. That's another revenue stream. Again, not looking at having my own products yet. Now, let's talk about physical products. Now, if you have merch, it's a physical product, but you're not touching it. It's print on demand. If you are going to have your own products, private labeling them, well, then we got to get into that whole thing, right? We got to get inventory, and that's a whole nother animal. If you want to go down that road, by all means, you can do that. What I would advise in this, though, is I would start with promoting affiliate products that were what you would want to do as a private label product, and test it first. If you see that you're starting to sell a lot of these certain lures or these certain attachments for the kayak or whatever, then maybe you create your own, and then you just swap out that link with your own. Okay. I would not want to just take a guess and have to get 1,000 units and then test it. I've done that. It's worked. But it's stressful at times, and sometimes you have a dud that you launch, and then you got to eat that and then liquidate it somehow. So I would just be careful with that. But physical products, that's what you got to think about. The other thing that you can do is digital products, right? If you're in a space like how to catch more bass, you could have a course, you could have a workshop, you could have a training to win the next bass fishing tournament. So there's a lot you can do with digital products. Is anyone else offering this, right? If you're in the how to play guitar market, there's a lot of how to play guitar courses out there. Maybe you look and see on their site, they're selling it, and you can maybe join their email newsletter. Maybe you can buy the product, see what it's like, and then you can get ideas and inspiration for what you could also add on. Again, another growth potential for the brand. In this case, we're talking revenue, okay? So that's what I'm doing, right? Those are the 3 things that I'm always doing, whether it's in the very beginning when I'm just getting ready to start, or if it's midway through the build. Okay. We're going to reevaluate. We're going to see what's working, what's not working. Where can we find growth opportunities? Okay. So that's what we're doing. So number 1, find 2 to 3 websites getting traffic. If you can't find 2 to 3 websites, I personally, that would be a red flag. I would be out. Okay. 2 to 3 websites getting traffic. I like 75,000 or more as far as per month. 2, look at content potential, questions, how to, product reviews. Are those pieces of content being created? If yes, great. If not, is there potential there for you to add some of that and get traffic? Again, using a tool like Uber suggests for that. And 3, look at those sites for clues when it comes to revenue. Ad networks, Ezoic, Mediavine, AdThrive, affiliate products. Are they promoting affiliate products? What types of affiliate products? How expensive are those affiliate products? And then products. And that could be merch through Etsy. It could be a private label product. It could be a wholesale product. And it also could be a digital product. Those are the different ways that we're going to be able to add revenue to the business. And that's what I would personally do. All right. Now, one little tip here for you. I got one tip. I told you guys I was going to share one little tip here with you, a little ninja tip. Another way that we can validate our niche, okay, and see exactly how much we could potentially earn and how much traffic we potentially get, because this would be real proof. Go to a site called Flippa, flippa.com, okay? Flippa is a marketplace that sells websites. Now, I have never bought a website through them. I've looked there, and I look there for ideas for niches and things like that. But if you go there, look at the marketplace and search for your niche. Search for bass fishing or fishing in general or sports and outdoors, and just see if you can find a website there that is similar to the one that you're building or the one that you want to build, and then look at the numbers, because they're going to have to post their numbers there. They have to post their screenshots of their analytics in Google. They have to post their revenue numbers, all of that stuff. Now, they won't put their revenue numbers with the products that they're selling, but they will have to give you that data. If you go there and you see that someone's selling a website for 40, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever, look and see the traffic that they're getting from Google, okay? And look at the money they're making and where that money's coming from. They have to give you all of the revenue streams, right? So this is a great way to validate it very, very quickly and give you some hope for the future and some growth potential for the future. All right. So that's one little ninja tip there. The other site that's out there right now that's doing the same thing, they just have a limited amount of stock, if you will, is Motion Invest. Motion Invest is another site out there that does sell websites. There's another one, Quiet Light Brokerage. Theirs is usually bigger sites, which is fine because that'll give you potential, but they don't necessarily give you the traffic numbers and all of that stuff until you give them, I believe, a deposit of some kind. But Flippa, Motion Invest, they're pretty much public. You can just go there. They're smaller sites for a lot of times, under $1 million. Usually they do probably have some there. I don't think Motion Invest does. And their model is to have something that's, maybe 300,000 or less. Flippa, I have seen some that are more expensive there, but for the most part, just go there and see if you can find some sites that are getting traffic and generating revenue, and then you can validate it. Okay. Right there. So that's what I would do. All right. So those are the 3 different ways to validate niche site growth potential and revenue streams. Very, very easy to do. And again, I would do this in the very beginning, and I would do it midway and as you're growing and seeing these opportunities. And that's exactly what we're doing right now in 2 different niches that we started just under 2 years ago. And things are starting to get exciting right now. But we're also now looking for these bigger opportunities because the site has some traction. All right. But in the beginning, we weren't as picky. Okay. But we did validate the potential before we published one piece of content. All right. So hopefully this helped you. Get out there and validate. Right? Just learn this process, because once you learn it, there's no guessing. And then you can go ahead and you can literally see and get proof with your own eyes what the potential is. All right. So get out there, make it happen. All right, guys, you guys got any quick questions for me before we wrap this up? Let's see. Okay. That website you mentioned sounded like they were hiding or misleading info, trying to sell it too hard. Yeah, I don't know if they were trying to hide it. I just don't think. I think that they have a lot in their portfolio, and Yeah, I don't know that they were being sneaky, but it did kind of seem like that a little bit. And I just kept asking questions back and forth, and they did send me a video walking me through their analytics and stuff. And I was still not feeling good about it. I actually had Chris Schaefer look at it with his analytical eye, and tell me what he thought. And we just felt like it was not going to be a smart move, but it just kind of it worked out anyway, because we have a website that I've had for over 5 years that has a little bit of content. We used it for a different purpose. It's just been sitting there. No content's been published for probably 4 years. But we have a domain score of, I believe, a 17, which is pretty good. And it's got a lot of backlinks coming to it now, all natural, organic. And the website's just kind of been sitting there, and I wasn't really going to do anything with it. And it does lend itself to what we could use it for, in a similar niche that I was going to buy that website. So our idea is to now build this out and add it to our portfolio and use it as a case study inside of Brand Creators Academy. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. Let's see, Karen. We are doing one blog a week for now, consistently putting worksheets and workbooks on the site. That's awesome, Karen. And yeah, one blog post a week is great. We're doing 2 per week now on all of our sites. We've kind of scaled it down a little bit. We were doing more, but we're doing 2 every single week. And the new one that we're talking about is going to be 2 per week as well. So yeah. What tool do you use to look at traffic on certain sites? It's Ubersuggest is what we're using. And again, we don't like think that it's 100% accurate, but it gives us an idea. And that's Ubersuggest. Did you have to upgrade your Generate Press website with 70,000 visits a month of traffic? No. We had already added there's a pro feature there, or pro features, I should say, for Generate Press. It's another part of the plugin that gives you some just different things that you can put on it, whether it's a widget or whatever. We had already did that from day one. It's like $50 a year. But even if we didn't have that, our site would still be doing what it's doing. It allowed us to have more control over some of the design, some placeholders, things like that. You sound excited, Patrick says. I am excited. New sites are so much fun. Yeah, they are. Patrick says, I use this to find out everything about sites in niches I am considering. Oh, builtwith.com. Okay, cool. Check it out, Patrick. Thank you. Patrick's one of our BCA members, by the way. Always in the trenches. Love it, Patrick. I love how you're always in the trenches, building stuff. Better to build one website before buying? No, not necessarily, but it depends on your money that you have available, right? But when you are building, or when you are buying a website, just like I showed in that one example that I was looking at buying, you have to do your due diligence. You have to go through it, and you have to know what to look for. And when you look at a website, you got to say, okay, this site has 60 articles on it. It's generating $1,300, but it hasn't been up until like 6 months ago. And, it's getting traffic, but the traffic is coming from Google, which has also got some backlinks on these that are manufactured, meaning they were created by the site owner from a blog network. Red flag, right? So if you're buying a website, you're going to shortcut it, but you are going to spend money on it, but you also need to understand what to look out for. Okay. So I would just be careful on that. Let's see here. Sorry, wrong person. Thanks for the wealth of information as always. No problem. Friday topic on the coffee talk. Sure. Let me give you that real quick, and then we're going to wrap this up, guys. Friday is going to be, I already have it. What's the fastest way to rank website content? That's what it's going to be. All right. So we're going to talk about that. That was a question I received, and I'm going to answer it. And it's pretty simple to rank content. Now, there are things to look out for when you're creating your content, but there's some basic principles. But it does come down to finding content that is more long tail in the beginning. A lot of people want to go after the big keywords, right? Bass fishing. gets 20,000 searches a month or whatever. I want that. I want that one. I would much rather go after the long tail. Can you catch bass in a pond? I'd rather go after that one in the beginning than bass fishing. Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I will be going through what you would need to do to get started. And it's pretty simple. All right. So we're going to talk about that on this Friday's coffee talk and on our jam session. All right, guys. So I think that's it. Let's see here. I think that is it. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you do want to start creating content and you're not part of Brand Creators Academy, you can always head on over to brandcreatorsacademy.com and you can apply there to join. We have all training inside of there. If you are more interested in just getting the training for creating content, then I would advise you to go to launchyourcontent.com. That will give you access to our 7-day content creation challenge, which you can go through yourself and watch us do it right in front of you, but then also you do it right along with us. And that can be found at launchyourcontent.com. All right, guys. So that is it. That is going to wrap up this coffee talk. Thanks so much for hanging out with me this morning. Take care, take action, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.